Hey, good evening, Chad.
Hey Jamie, how are you?
I'm good, really good. Welcome to this week's episode of Paranormal Lens. I'm Jamie Whiter. I'll be your host tonight. Chad Thomas, as always, making magic happen behind the scenes over there. He's, what you can't see when we do this stuff is Chad is feverishly moving hands around and making stuff happen as far as cool stuff on the screens and all. So, dude, you're a rock star.
Well, I appreciate that, Jamie. Thank you.
Of course. Hey, how was your week? What's going on?
Oh, let's see. I had two investigations this week that I went out on. Went out to where was I? White Hill Mansion. Was
Oh, yeah.
that this week or was that two? I don't know. It's all running
Yes.
together.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
know where you were Saturday, though.
Saturday we were at Boobies. Yeah.
Yep.
That was a good good time again.
Yeah, well,
Um,
it's never a dull moment when you're paranormal investigating. So,
this is true.
even
And
if there are dull moments, they're not dull.
right. And today was election day, so I got my sticker. It was
You
the
got
very
mine too? Yep.
so
If you did not vote, it's too late.
it
And
is.
now, therefore, you cannot complain for another cycle. So,
So well, at least in Pennsylvania. If you're somewhere else,
it's true. That's
we'd
true.
rather you go vote than watch us. But
Yeah, exactly. Please, if you still have time, go. We'll be here when you get back. It's going to
so
be a long episode.
so actually upcoming this weekend, I've got an interesting thing. I can't give too many details.
Right?
I'm going. It's somewhere in Philadelphia. I'm going and I'm going to be locked in with a bunch of other investigators from late night to early morning. So there's about five of us who are going. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to do an episode on that down the road. So
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah, let's share
fill
as
you in
much
when I
as we can.
can.
Right. Well, you and I talked about this obviously already. I know what's going on. I mean, I don't know where you're going. You don't tell me, even me. So that's cool. But it made me think of something, and we haven't seen this in a while. But my introduction to paranormal shows like Ghost Adventures, some of the early Ghost Hunters, some others where they were at lockdowns, and someone came and let them in, locked them up, and then went away, and there they were for the night.
Mm-hmm.
Which it doesn't sound bad, right? But I think the Ghost Adventure team had at the Goldfinch, they had an episode where in the basement, some like a board fell and a brick went flying, and all caught on camera. And this is one of those like aha moments for me early on. Was like, oh wow, like stuff like this really does happen. Even it's not
Mm-hmm.
just tales. But they had they booked it, right? And we can laugh at that a little bit because Chris Mendens, um, but love you,
Uh-huh.
Chris. But they had no way to get out. They had to climb out a window, if I recall correctly. So like there's goods and bads, and I'm not saying it to put anything on this
Oh, I know.
investigation you're going to, but like I get it. I want that privacy
Right.
and that confidence that someone else isn't going to interfere in the space, especially someplace you've not
Right.
been before, or maybe in an unfamiliar environment overall. But
Mm-hmm.
the same way, like what if
Right.
happens? It's always in the back of my mind, and um, you're gonna do great. I'm cool. Best of luck with
Well,
it.
I've been thinking about that. Take a first aid kit along. Take, we're
Yeah,
food, things like that, because
right,
we're going to be there for 8 hours, nine
dude.
hours.
You always take food to
Well,
investigations. Come
yeah,
on now.
but
Come
more
on now.
more than candy, Jamie. Not more than a bag
Oh,
of.
all right. So now you're talking like a steak. Okay. Don't forget the hibachi.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
anyway,
so
all
anyway,
right.
yeah. We're not here to talk about what.
Well, we're here to ramble, so I'm going to do that for a little bit.
So,
Yeah, you're right. Tonight's episode is something, and it's a hungry work. That's right. Uh, it's a true story. Uh, this episode is on Jinn, and many may not know what that is. But as soon as I start to describe this, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I know what that is," because there's a key word, and not gin rummy. No,
not
no,
this one. No,
not this one. No, no.
hold on. This.
Ooh, maybe there are definitely spirits involved in this, but no,
No,
not the tasty beverage.
there.
Uh, man,
Closer.
galaxy far, far away, too far away. Unfortunately, Qui-Gon Jinn is not our guy. However, may the force be with you. This is our guy, the Jinn, and the definition of Jinn is one of a class of spirits that, according to Muslim demonology, inhabit the earth, assume various forms, and exercise supernatural power. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
The word jinn is adapted from Arabic, the Arabic word for demon, commonly translated in English is genie. And we know what genies are, right? We'll get to that pop culture stuff here in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Jinn commonly describes a supernatural spirit, usually made of natural elements such as fire or air, that can assume human and or animal form, are capable of shape-shifting, invisibility, and possessing humans. It is believed to be impossible for humans to detect them with their sensory organs or any senses at all. So that's interesting, right? How will we know they exist? Well, they are believed to be either neutral, meaning they don't pick a side, or be good or evil. So it's anything, right? Anything goes. Have the same motivations and needs as humans, such as to eat and drink. So they like a party, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can give birth. They have a life cycle, albeit much longer, much longer than humans, in the thousands of year range. They are believed to be believers or non-believers, and therefore can go to heaven or hell. They are much faster and stronger than humans. They love to punish humans for harm done to them. So they're vengeful. And they can be the cause of accidents and or diseases. So, interesting, right? How did this all come about? So the jinn are mentioned in the Quran and are an integral part of Islamic culture and belief. So this is ancient. This is old school stuff, right? Going way back. The Islamic creation shares that angels were created on a Wednesday and the jinn were created on Thursday. So they're in the beginning of the origin of all things. Jinn were a mighty race created from a smokeless fire. Jinn existed for over 1,000 years, but pride became their downfall. They believed they were greater than Allah, and their world became corrupt and was rife with injustice. Allah sent many warnings, but all were unheeded and ignored. As a result, Allah sent his angels to battle the jinn, and all but a few were destroyed. For reference, humans were created on Friday. So, what a difference a day makes.
Mm-hmm.
And the jinn existed for thousands of years before humans were created from clay that bound them to the earth. So the reason I say that is just a bit of a side story, but it's an interesting one. So when Allah created humans, he ordered the angels and the surviving jinn to bow before the first man named Adam. Most did, but one named Iblis refused to do so. He argued to Allah that because he was made from a smokeless fire, he was superior to Adam and therefore should not be forced to bow to him. Allah banished Iblis from heaven and sent him to hell. Iblis accepted his fate, but asked to be spared until Judgment Day so he could tempt humans from the path of righteousness to the same fate that would befall of him. Allah accepted, but insisted that humans would have free will to choose their own path. Hence the temptation of good and evil to heaven or hell. It's quite an interesting origin story that way. We know that there's a version of that, obviously, from Christianity, and every religion has their own. I thought that was really interesting, especially because they incorporated the jinn in a kind of a superior sense they had of themselves.
Right.
So, what is a jinn? Right? There are three main types, and here they are. The first is an ifrit, believed to protect ancient ruins. If a crypt or tomb is opened without the anti-spell, an ifrit will come and kill the offender. Okay, so not the toxic gases that build up inside or anything that could have been still alive in there that would kill somebody. It was definitely a jinn.
Okay.
Ifrit are believed to live in societies such like humans do. They have royalty and social rankings. They usually marry other Ifrit, but occasionally will marry humans and have children with them. Believed to have the power to grant wishes. Think of like I Dream of Genie, maybe. Okay. Most are considered wicked and malevolent and should be avoided at all costs. So what would make you want to marry one? It's an interesting thought. So the second is a marid. The most well-known and believed to be the most powerful of all the jinn. What we base the Western understanding of genies on is this. Knowing to grant wishes, but at a costly price. Wishes are granted if the marid can be subdued in battle, are bound by magic to do so, or a ritual is performed in their honor. Flattery may work as well, but it has to be laid on pretty thick. And just for reference, Jinn living in a bottle or a lamp is a very westernized myth.
Oh, really?
Yep. Okay. The third, this is where it gets creepy, is a ghoul. Now we have some reference to ghouls, of course, in the Western world. The most feared type of Jinn are ghoul, able to shapeshift and are known to prey on humans, believed to crave human flesh. They prefer corpses but will attack the living. They are believed to frequent graveyards, ruins, and other uninhabited places. They tend to attack those who travel alone and do so in packs. This is also interesting. Female ghouls are most feared because they appear as normal and even beautiful mortal women who convince men to marry them and then devour them.
Okay.
I gotta laugh at that a little bit, but that sounds like somebody who, like somebody coming out of a bad relationship would say something like that. I don't know. All right. So those are the three main types, but there are a lot of other types. And reference to those are, there's a Hinn, Hinn. These guys appear as dogs or other animals instead of human form.
Okay.
They often appear, then disappear. Good Hinn lead most people to safety. Lost people, to safety. And the evil ones, of course, do the reverse and lead them to their doom. So if you are out in the desert and you find a random animal, it is most likely a Hinn, and you have to be cautious whether to follow or not, because you may, depending on the mood, you may be going the wrong way. The next is a Jann, Jann, also a shapeshifter that lives in the desert, are believed to be friendly to humans, known to appear as whirlwinds or white camels. They can be mischievous and can hide or reveal the presence of an oasis, depending if they like the traveler or not. They are the natural enemies to ghouls, and they are believed to help in wars. They protect those that they are fond of, and they disrupt those that they are not fond of. So it's interesting that ghouls have enemies, or any of these, these folks have enemies, much like people. Depending on your belief system or your where you are, you may have an unknown enemy. The next is a Sila, Sila. Again, a shapeshifter, believed to be fond of meddling in human affairs, but also very rarely sighted by humans. So this is the one where you would have a sense that something is happening, and if it's unexplainable, it was likely a Sila.
Right.
The next is a Palis, Palis. They have many similarities to vampires. They live in the desert. They drain blood from victims by licking the soles of their feet and draining the blood away. They are believed to have very low intelligence. And a trick of the traveler trick of the trade to avoid a Palis is to sleep with your feet against the feet of another traveler. Therefore, there's no space to get to your feet to lick them and suck your blood away. Or you would put your feet against someone else's or against a wall. That way there would be no access to them.
Yeah, I agree with Amanda here on this one.
Ew. Well, there's going to be one that might be a little worse than that. The next is a Quareen, Qareen. Believe that this is a belief that every person is born with their own Quareen, and it is the part of the person that causes them to do bad things and sin. So this is the devil on your shoulder. Okay. Quareen can be made to be servants, but it takes many years and is a very, very dangerous process. If you can, though, the benefits include obtaining information on any person in the world. And a simple matter of your Quareen will talk to theirs. Hey, what's up? Let's get coffee. You will have a knowledge of how to cure illnesses. All right, page turn. You'll be able to find lost or stolen things easily. You'll be able to influencing other people's Quareen so that to have that person do whatever you want. And lastly, you'll have the knowledge that someone is coming before you see them or they arrive. So a sensory sense that I'll call it spidey senses, that something's going to happen. So quite interesting, the whole idea of control. The next is a Shayteen, Shayten. These are evil folks and have no hope for redemption or salvation. They have pledged their service to Iblis. They may be controlled by strong, dark magicians, can cause illness and even death. They are capable of mass destruction, and they can possess humans. The next is a Vetala, Vetala. They are thought to be the original vampires. So when you thought, ooh, before, there's more. They can possess a corpse and prevent it from decaying. This allows them to move freely in the human world without detection. So if you don't know someone has passed on and they've been possessed by a Vetala, they could be up walking with normal people. Believed to be incredibly intelligent and naturally psychic, they can read thoughts and tell the future. That is it. So quite a bunch of interesting stuff.
It's interesting, really, how there's some parallels to other things in other cultures. I mean,
yes.
You said this is very like a very Islamic belief, but there's definitely a lot of parallels to Western culture, some Eastern culture. So yeah.
Yep. And the curious. Well, we'll get to this more probably in a minute. But when you look at the idea of it being religious based, the Quran, meaning the Islamic Bible, like a better way of saying it, the Holy Book. Therefore, it, and I'm going to use this term as a Western term, but therefore it is gospel to some. Right. Regardless of the validity of the claim or the statement of it. Which I find very interesting as well, because, we all have faith in something, whatever, higher power, or God, whatever it may be, and we know things, we know to ourselves that things are real, and therefore these are real. So it's quite interesting.
So, hey, I want to give a shout out to Erica, who's actually joining us from Aruba.
We have an international guest tonight. Fantastic. Put on sunscreen. I don't care what time it is. Okay. All right. So let's talk about Jinn today. Yeah. So here's an obvious one. Pop culture reference here. I Dream of Jeannie. Right. I think most of us are old enough to remember it live. Certainly, it's always available now on all kinds of things. Nick at Night probably anymore because it's old. But a show from back in 1965 to 1968. A American airman crashes, finds the bottle of a genie, opens it, and Barbara Eden pops out in a skimpy outfit, right? And therefore she is indebted to him and it's Larry Hagman in a very young role, which he's a much older man now, but interesting role for him, versus what he did later. But the idea here is Jeannie is indebted to her master because he released her from the lamp, and the lamp was a bottle in this case. It is still one of those references. When you say Jeannie, this is one of the things most people think of. An iconic role for Barbara Eden as well. I don't know if she did much else otherwise. So next slide. There's a lot of movies. This is one of them, of course, our dear friend Aladdin, the original on the left, the remake on the right with Will Smith from a few years ago. Next slide. This one's way better, by the way. Genie here, rescued from the cave of lost souls. Aladdin was a thief going out to find treasure. He picks up the lamp. As he started to collect things out of the cave, it starts to close. Magic carpet comes by, swoops them all up. He rubs the lamp, and out pops a fantastic Robin Williams portrayal of Genie that is iconic still today, 30 years later. So, but again, the idea that a master, he grants wishes to his master. Once the wishes are gone, the genie gets released, and he's off to the world. Next slide. So these are some of the representations of what genies come through, and these are all available on Amazon, by the way. But the bottle, of course, pop in the cork. Once the cork's released, the genie releases, is there to grant the wishes, the westernization again, but it released from its captivity. This is going to the part where it's really hard to capture a genie in the sense that it takes years and years. The genie probably gets overwhelmed by being in a bottle for so long. Just happy to grant anything that anyone lets it loose. The other idea is the lamp, of course. You rub the lamp 3 times as the lure goes. The genie, magically comes out via smoke because it can, and it materializes to grant you wishes. And the right option is my favorite thing. I think it might be on my Christmas wish list. Um, a genie lamp. So, all right.
Now I got ideas now, Jamie.
I know, right. I got a wish list somewhere. I got to put that on. Get away from that. So, we've had things. There are other things. Shaquille O'Neal made a very horrible movie back in the 2000s called Kazam, which it's so bad it's funny. It's so bad it's good, I guess. The Seven Voyages of Sinbad, 1001 Arabian Nights. These are all films and story tales that have been around for a very long time that centralize around a genie involved in it. Again, same idea, getting released from a bottle. For those, something looking for something a bit more modern, there was a film back in, I think, 2017 called Jinn, Jinn, as the topic is. It was a bit more on the horror side. What could go wrong when you release a genie? So, something to find on Netflix, I'm sure. Uh-huh. Okay, so to wrap it, right? So, the existence of Jinn is as much about what we want to believe as any other thing in the paranormal field. Those who are skeptic can dismiss the story and lore of Jinn to basic creativeness. Jinn stories could have been created to scare people into better behaviors or simply to entertain. We don't know. And so they're so old. They're forever old. Mm-hmm. Conversely, there is something that exists that occasionally makes its presence known to us, and we have only limited ability to process and comprehend what we are experiencing. So the paranormal, right? If we can't explain it, if it's not a normal thing, it doesn't have a natural thing that we can describe, therefore we put it to be paranormal. And therefore it has to have something, it has to be something. So Jinn were created in that sense. If you add the religious context to Jinn being referenced in the Quran, and this is what I said a moment ago, and you have those who automatically believe in Jinn because their faith says to do so. And of course, the converse of that is there are going to be those who refuse to believe it for the same reason that it's a religious statement or a religious context.
Right.
And therefore, no, I'm out on that. It's not true. So the battle there continues, and it will always will. I personally believe Jinn are one of the oldest urban legends we have. They come from a time when science was unknown and explanations were needed for unseen occurrences. Like all stories, they have developed over time and have been expanded to suit the teller's desired intent, whether it be to inform, control, entertain, whatnot. However, to cover all my bases, I will say that like all paranormal things, Jinn could be real. And I do not plan on exploring any ruins, temples, going through graveyards alone, or anything else that would make a Jinn mad at me, just to be safe. So yeah, here we are.
Okay, so question, what is the belief behind them coming or being stored in lamps, bottles? Like, anything on that? And did you come across it?
It's a westernization, and travelers, right? So you talk about the spice trade, being some of the earlier passages from the west to east on land, at least, and therefore they had a lot of things were carried. It had to be because you're on a caravan traveling across the desert. So the belief, again, a lot of these things are coming from the desert lands. So, you're dealing with the idea that it would be something portable or potable. So you're going with it. It's going with you. It has to be in something like a bottle or a lamp. And lamps were common because that's how they had oil, and everybody had ones. That's how you had light. Bottles, probably nowhere near as ornate as when I showed you. But a bottle would have been something that would have been had a cap, and therefore it could be something to be held in it. Obviously, water would be the primary thing they'd want, but after that, other things could be in there as well. So it would be that place to trap.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe it was one of those things where they, the Westerners came and they were sold a snake oil. Here we got a genie in a.
Yeah, that's true too. There's some industrious person out there who really and then South stories get started, right? Somebody started to come up with a tale, and then that spread, and next thing you know, and whisper down the lane is that timeless game where you tell the story to one and it through many, and it ends in something uniquely different by the end. I'm sure there is this element to it as well. Right. And the idea of having something supernatural is a great story. It captivates
Right.
people's attention. I mean, we're all here, wherever we are here, but wherever we are, watching or listening to this, you are here because you're interested in the unknown. And I am too, for that matter. That's why I do what I did, all of this. And um, yeah, I'm a sucker for a good story. I think everybody is to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And what you choose to believe after you hear it is up to you. But the story itself has content, and therefore it has captivation. And some stories have more legs than others, longer legs than others.
So, yeah, again, I think it's interesting too because the whole some of the religious things that we have in Christianity from the Old Testament and things were rules that were set to protect us from things like not eating pork. Well, pork couldn't be cooked correctly and when that was written, like all those things were set up as things to protect you in a
Yep.
religious way, but it was just things that weren't necessarily common sense. So you
Yeah.
set it as a religious rule or a religious explanation, and that seems sort of the same with some of the Jinn things. It's so I find it
And
interesting.
it goes to, it's a, you said it very well earlier. There are parallels, there are similarities between what we know in the Western world and what we're experiencing here, what we're learning here. And I thought the same thing, and it's too, even some of the things, the ghoul being a Jinn never would occur to me. A ghoul to me is a ghost or some, like a zombie almost, some
Right.
kind of creature that does exactly what a Jinn is believed to do, but in the Western world, not the Eastern world. The graveyards and cemeteries and dark, creepy places. You never know. You're going to come around the corner and there is one. And they will come after you. And that's a story I've heard for years, since a kid. So never knowing that it was really not a Western thing. So there's,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that happens. Obviously the world is much smaller now than it ever was before. In the time of the Quran, the Bible, and all the great religious texts, for all the beliefs. There are origin stories in all of them.
Uh-huh.
There's good and evils in all of them. And this is no different. Even in the Jinn themselves, there are good ones and there are bad ones. There are neutralish ones. And many are dependent on the mood that they're in, or perhaps the way that they are treated by in the contact that they get.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting. And at no point in any of this was there, living in a genie in a bottle or genie in a lamp. They're out in the world, so
Right.
they are among us, if you will. And I thought that like everything else, there are spirits among us, in our Western beliefs as well. And there is heaven and hell in our belief as well as theirs. So it's quite interesting to me that there's so, as far as how wide across this all would be in the time and the era.
Uh-huh.
It still is very much the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you've gotten a lot of stuff from here in the last 25 minutes or so?
I mean, it's one of those that I don't necessarily believe it, but I don't, again, I'm not going to disbelieve it because it is such an important part of many people's religious lives. I'm same as you. I'm not going to go do things that might intention or, upset these. Um, do I think genies in a bottle are real? I don't think so,
Right.
but we never know. So,
I want my
but
three wishes if it's real. I want to find one and get.
exactly. But there's things that I believe in the paranormal a lot more than I believe this one. Let's put it that way.
Okay, that's
The- you
fair.
know,
I think that's very fair. Honestly, I think I'm in the same boat. I was interested in this topic for a long time, and I that's why I wanted to do it. And what I knew, was not what I now. What I knew then is not what I know now.
right.
Yes, I say that right. I felt like I've saying the same word 3 times. So in the knowledge gain, I think that's cool. But again, it's the same thing. I just, a different way of saying what I've said. But you still, regardless of what you still have to choose to believe it.
Right.
And in this case, I could take it as being a possibility, but I certainly don't take it as being a fact.
Right.
But it's
But
cool.
I think it's important also to understand the culture, like the other people's culture. So knowing the background of this more, it's one more thing to understand. So
True, very true. And as again, that's called other belief systems go. There's probably more stuff that we could explore here
Mm-hmm.
as uniqueness to it, to expand our horizons just a little bit further. What we know is not all.
True. Anybody have any comments they want to put up about this? Feel through, put them in the comment. We'll bring them up and talk about it if you've got thoughts. So, nice job, Jamie. Like I said, there's a lot of information that you got in there in 25 to 26 minutes. So,
all right. Well, we put everybody to sleep. That's cool. All right. They got an extra hour over the weekend. They're taking it now too.
Uh-huh.
That's all good. Again, thanks for letting me do the topic. I appreciate something. I wanted to do something a little different as well. Oh, Amanda's still awake. Okay, good. I was worried.
Yep. No. Wow. Well, and we're glad Amanda's back. We know that you had some downtime. We're glad to hear that things are going well for you. So we definitely glad that you're with us tonight. So
yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you out in the field sometime real soon.
So, well, should we just jump into what's coming up, Jamie?
Yeah, let's wrap it. I'm good with an early night.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm gonna do this one a little differently. Give me a second here if I can figure it out. This one. Here we go. This week, or not this week, but Heather's a freak now. November 18th, which I can't believe we're that far into November already. But Daryl Marston is coming back to Booby's Brewery. He's going to do a book signing in the Bottling Works from I don't remember the times here.
7:30 to 9, I believe.
Yeah, 7:30 to 9
or 9:30 even.
And then he'll have his books available to purchase for $20. And then he's going to spend some time over one-on-one time with people from, I believe, 9:30 to 10 or 9 to 10 or somewhere like that. For those people who have tickets to the Paranormal Investigation, he's going to be there upstairs where we do the investigations, talking to people and signing books there as well. So come out for that. There are still tickets available. They are starting to sell, so get yours while you can. There's that. Coming up after that, December 2nd, we have a investigation in Denver, December 16th. I mean, we're down to 3 left for the year, Jamie.
That's crazy, dude. I remember, like in January, it felt like we had so many to do this year, every other weekend, more or less, and all the other stuff we had to do this year. And here we are at the end. It's crazy.
So
time flies.
It does. So Amanda really wants to dig more into this topic. So there you go. You've piqued somebody's interest, Jamie. So good job. Let's see. Here, now that we've got a schedule for us, Jamie, look at this.
Ooh.
Upcoming shows. Next week is Instrumental Transcommunication, or ITC. So I'm going to dig into that and explore that next week. And you're going to be in Vegas, so we're going to see if we can make this work across the country, right?
Yeah, I got to remember that I have a 2-hour time difference and show up on time. So.
And then you're doing Nazca lines.
Nazca lines, yep.
Okay. And then I've talked about it, and here it is, Skinwalker Ranch. We're gonna have special guest Steve Dills. He's from Ghost Finders. He's on the Ghost Finders TV show now. I met him at a couple different Paracons, so I'm excited to have him join us and talk about Skinwalker Ranch. So
me too. This is it's a favorite thing of mine, and someplace I've been actually rather close to a time or two, but never had a chance to get near enough to say. Well, obviously, you can't walk on the place, but even to say I was near the gate.
You don't think they'd like that if you just walked in?
I'm considering the armed guards. I'm pretty sure that's a no.
Okay.
But
I mean, they say if you walk up and to places and you look like you belong, Jamie, they you just walk in. You don't think that would work there?
well, you never know until you try, right? Why not? Well, next time I'm close by, I'm just going to go knock, see what happens.
Anyway.
Well,
And then we'll see what happens.
How far from Vegas is it? I mean, really? Well, I'm there. Let's just go for a drive.
Closer, yeah. So, then we've got some other things planned after that, but that'll be at least get us through the end of November.
Yep.
So,
very cool.
And then other than that, we've just got our social media links. Check out Booby's Brewery. Yeah, give us ideas for shows. We've got some things scheduled out, but we're always looking for new ideas.
Yep. This is a people's show. So if there's something that you guys want to see or hear about, just say so. Drop a line. We're open. We're all ears for opportunities. So we have a lot of stuff in a queue, but the queue can get moved for priority stuff. So please and thank you in advance.
Yes, sir. Well, any last minute thoughts, Jamie?
No, I'm kind of bummed about one thing, and that is you and I are going to miss the opportunity to be with Daryl on the 18th. Mm-hmm. For travel issues and some family commitments and such. But and I'm going to put my personal plug to this. But I've had a chance to know Daryl for a couple of years now, and he is one of the most personable people in this field, and one of the nicest people for that matter too. And we've had the pleasure of working with him a couple times now, many times over actually over the years. And just I say that from a fondness for the guy. And if anybody's interested at all in his book, it's a great story. It's a true story, and it's his story as well. So even if you can't make it to him and us on the 18th, it's available on Amazon and in your bookstores or wherever you prefer. If you don't like this, the Amazon thing, I totally appreciate that. But it's out there, and a really good, and not a hard read for that matter, a fairly short one. But
it's also available on Audible. That's right. So it's definitely a good read or a good listen.
Yeah.
Don't read it right before bed, maybe.
Yeah, like don't watch this podcast before bed. Right, Heather?
So.
All right. Well, that's what I have. Thanks, guys. As always, we appreciate you joining us. And hopefully we've been able to teach a little something and learn a little something here. And we look forward to the next time. So thank you all.
So we'll see you next
as
week.
Always, great work, buddy.
Hey, Jamie, travel safe. So
I have no choice. Like I'm not. They don't let me drive the plane anymore. So so we'll figure it out.
All right.
Sunday is a travel day. So I'll try to check in with y'all when I get where I'm going.
All right.
And I'm going to tell you this. I'm so excited. As a bit of a personal note, but I'm going for a work event from Monday through Friday. I'll be back Friday late. But traveling in on Sunday to set up for it, I was like, what's going on in Las Vegas this week? And I was so excited because the sphere is open and U2's in residency. I'm like, oh my God, yes, this is going to happen. The week I'm there, the Formula One is there and everything else is shut down. I was like, dang it. I mean, really, Formula One versus U2. It's a no-brainer, right? So what else could be going on? So I realized that the Raiders have a home game and it's Sunday night football, 5:30 game their time. I got myself a ticket. Now the only reason I can do this is the Eagles are on bye.
Exactly.
So I'm going to be a Raiders fan for one day and that's it. So sorry, Amanda. Don't hate me.
Hey, if you get a chance to go to a football game in any NFL game, it's worth going to see.
Absolutely. So. And it's even more fun when you don't care. I'm not going to be stressed like it was this Sunday. So I'll tell you all about it next week. But anyway,
sounds good. So, all right.
I will see you then.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's. Thanks again, everybody, and we're gonna roll the end credits, and we'll talk to you next week.
Take care, all. Good night.